to the Bridge of Castleton.
Hey, howdy, hey, guess people that live on Middle Earth, I don't know, Wolfman47 yeah, I'm doing another vlog because today is Hobbit Day, so yeah, two special pop culture days, in 1 month, set after the other, so yeah. So I had long thought about what to do for today because Middle Earth being a fandom that until now I've not really delved into much. I kind of decided maybe let's talk about the Peter Jackson films. So yeah, so as we all know, Peter Jackson is a filmmaker, one of the few big filmmakers out there, known for his long films and films that sort of, you know, try and be like big blockbuster films and stuff that he just wants to expand on a bit more from the original works. And he was the man responsible for creating the Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit films, as well as also doing other films such as the King Kong remake, not the Monsterverse one, the one before that, and other things as well. He's mostly known for being an executive producer for things more than a, I guess, director. But he has directed the Middle Earth stuff as well. So let's talk about those. So for a long time, the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit stuff and anything else to Middle Earth was deemed unfilmable, and Peter Jackson wanted to create films or something or adapt the work somehow to the big or small screen. And what happened was, originally with the Lord of the Rings films, none of the studios really wanted to do it apart from New Line Cinema. Now, New Line Cinema, then being part of Warner Brothers, are known for taking risks. So they decided to take risks with this. And initially, Peter Jackson wanted to make just 2 films, but because it's a 3-book trilogy of books, New Line convinced him to create 3 films, which with each film being based on each of the books, albeit Peter Jackson's take on it, which I believe the Tolkien estate weren't too keen on. And when he got to creating the Hobbit films, they were like, "Yep, you're not allowed to make any more Tolkien stuff after that. That's it, you're done." But yeah, there's been news that might be some more stuff on the way. But anyway, back to Lord of the Rings. So New Line gave him the all clear. He picked New Zealand as the location for Middle Earth to do all the filming, and much of the cast and crew are a mixed bag of local New Zealand people, but also British stars, American stars, Australian stars, New Zealand stars, and anybody that worked on the film ended up getting a tattoo that they shared. So yeah, and for most of the actors, this is probably the film that gave them their big. It's probably these films that gave them their big break. Obviously, Sean Austin, who plays Samwise, he was already well known for The Goonies. Elijah Wood, I don't think he was well known before this film, as far as I know. Obviously Orlando Bloom, who went on to go to play in Pirates of the Caribbean, among other things, and lots of other well-known names as well. So yeah, it's the first 3 films of Peter Jackson's Middle Earth films all won awards, with the 3rd one, Return of the King, pretty much winning every single award it was nominated for. All the films are epic fantasy masterpieces, with good dialogue, a little bit of comedy here and there, some serious moments, some dramatic moments, lots of great battle scenes, and all this other stuff. And I think whoever from Game of Thrones thought that the great war scenes in Lord of the Rings was done and boring, go hard in a rock. I mean, come on, they won awards for goodness sake. Honestly. Yeah, I really like the films. I think the first one's good. The second one will always be my favourite, The Two Towers, because I just like how the story is sort of split across three different sort of areas. So you got Frodo and Samwise still trying to get the One Ring to Mordor, and they get help. Well, help from Gollum, who's on his own quest to claim the ring for himself because he was once a hobbit and yada yada yada. Um, then you got Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli, trying to find ways to trying to find allies in what would eventually be the battle for Middle Earth. In an attempt to distract Sauron from Frodo and Samwise doing their thing. And then there's one featuring the other two hobbits, Merry and Pippin, who are also trying to find allies after escaping from evil forces. So yeah, so I kind of like that. Obviously Christopher Lee as a villain, good choice because he plays a great villain. He also plays a great wizard as well, and believe it or not, his appearance in the final Hobbit film was actually his very last appearance before he died. So kind of a good moment for him there in a way, yeah. Um, and but I do kind of like the third film as well because of its epic battle piece and all sorts. Yeah, there's lots to really like about these films more than the more than most films I see, where there's like always at least something I don't like. But yeah, these are films that I do like. However, with the extended cuts, I do like the extended cuts. I think they're the few extended cuts that actually do have good reasons to be extended. But because they're extended, it does mean that there's much more complicated stuff to be explained, and a few other things as well that needs explaining. But some things do make sense, others do not. And if you're the sort of person that doesn't like lots of explaining scenes like me, I'd much rather just see the action happen. Yes, explain stuff, sure, of course, but don't make a huge long ass scene of it. It's one of the reasons why when I saw Dune Part 2, I just felt that there was just way too much explaining before any of the big epic scenes in the second half of the film. But I like all the Lord of the Rings films, really good stuff. And I just like how most of it was practical effects with very minimal CGI. Obviously the Eye of Sauron was CGI. Gollum was technically motion capture, but motion capture is a sort of form of CGI in a way, but it was quite a groundbreaking thing at the time because no one really heard of it. And then pretty much lots of films tried to do it, and either with some success and others not so much. And then with the Hobbit films, which came many years later, they continued to film stuff in New Zealand, but also film stuff but they also had access to a studio, which meant that they could do some more CGI sort of scenes. and but for what it's worth, the Hobbit films are weaker than the Lord of the Rings films. They're not outright terrible films by any means, but it's just because they're like 3 films and it's only 1 book, and 3 long films, I should say, longer if you count the extended cuts. Yeah, it's an attempt by Peter Jackson to try and adapt as much of Tolkien as he can before they said no to him making more stuff. So I can kind of get it from that point of view. But 3 films based on 1 book that's otherwise quite a short book, I just don't understand that. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to say. I do, because of me being pansexual, I do have sort of a crush on some of the actors in these films. So, Orlando Bloom, of course. Yeah. So Orlando Bloom, I think possibly some of the dwarf actors from the Hobbit films. Yeah. And I can't think of anybody else, so yeah. Something I will say about the Hobbit films, actually, is that, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, so I'm just going to say Del Toro and leave it at that. Del Toro, as you know, Mexican filmmaker, well known for his practical effects, fantasy films, and just having a sort of unique style to his films. He was originally the guy that was going to direct the Hobbit films, but pulled out because of other commitments. So Peter Jackson took over, but he still gets a credit because he did sort of contribute in a way. So yeah. So overall, I think the Middle Earth films, they're all good. They're all really good. The extended cuts makes them even better. I don't think the Hobbit films are as good as the Lord of the Rings films, and while the Lord of the Rings films are now over 20 years old, they still hold up reasonably well in terms of the latest visual effects and so on. Because keep in mind that those films came out in the early noughties, where implementing CGI in films was still relatively new to most people, and so of course it relied more on practical effects than actual CGI, with the only CGI things really being like the sort of big grand scenes, Gollum obviously, Sauron, the Eye of Sauron that is, and all this other stuff as well. And sometimes it can be noticeable that it is sort of 2000s CGI, but at least it was released in 2000s and therefore has 2000s CGI, so that makes sense. Unlike some films today where it looks like it's got CGI that was made in the noughties, despite the fact that it was made today, and they should really know better, you know. And The Hobbit is still, well, I would say it was recent, but it's not actually anymore. It's just over 10 years old, and they still hold up pretty well as well. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch as the Dragon Smaug couldn't have asked for a better actor. He is a great actor in his own right, and another one I have a crush on as well. So, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion of the films. Since those films, the franchise has sort of blossomed. There's lots of game workshops, tabletop games for them. There's lots of video games as well that kind of continue to expand the universe, as it were. I know Rings of Power that was released on Prime Video was not all that well received, and personally, after seeing the first season of that, I wasn't that impressed, and I got it confused with the Game of Thrones spin-off House of the Dragon. So there you go. And I know that there is an animated Lord of the Rings thing coming out very soon. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the Peter Jackson stuff, or if it's going to be to do with Tolkien, but who knows. I should say I was originally going to wear a t-shirt for this video because it does have a sort of Middle-earth thing on it, but because it's a sort of t-shirt that has 3 different franchises in one, I decided not to, because it's just pointless, and I don't really have any other Middle-earth stuff to wear. But that's not the reason why I'm technically not wearing much. The main reason is that it's hot. And I know one of my friends keeps saying, "Oh, you don't need to explain why you're naked or shirtless or whatever," but I do, because you know, some of you might not like seeing a YouTuber like me being not wearing much, so I do have to say it. Sorry, I do. But yeah, Middle-earth films, great films. Do check them out when you can. Make sure you make time for them as well, especially if you're planning to watch the extended cuts, because the extended cuts do make them longer, but they are the few extended cuts that are actually good extended cuts and actually have purpose. You know, just like with Zack Snyder's Justice League, that had purpose to be extended, because it actually makes the film much better than it was when it was just the Justice League. Whereas if you were talking about extended cuts of Stanley Kubrick's films, don't get me wrong, he is a great filmmaker in his own right. Definitely artistic, and definitely one that demands perfection. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But the extended cuts of his films, all they really do is just add some more ambience scenes, which is fine if you don't mind. If you don't mind having a lot of scenes where not much is happening, it's just music you're hearing. But for me, it just doesn't really do much for the plot. For me, it doesn't drive it forward or whatever. So, yeah. Right, I'm going to stop talking because I think I've talked about Peter Jackson's films enough. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the subscribe button, wherever the button is. I upload videos at 1 p.m. BST/GMT every single day. Often vlogs like this, gameplay videos, and random shorts, all to do with pop culture in some shape or form. And if you like the video, well, obviously give it a like, share with your pals, leave a comment somewhere. Remember to hit the bell if you want to be notified when my videos come out. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. And only carry the one ring if you're ready to accept the burden of it. And, you know, don't get all clingy or touchy with it, because eventually you will turn into Gollum if you're not careful. Gollum being a character that was originally a hobbit, but then killed this other hobbit, and then he kind of had a split personality and became the character that he is, you know, not wearing much, skinny, all bones, and obsessed with the One Ring. So yeah, love the parodies that the franchise has had, but some of them are better than others personally, but that's just me. All right, doodles.